Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting stuck into Formula One, specifically Aston Martin, their current state, future prospects, all seen through the lens of Fernando Alonso's experience.
And our main source for this is commentary from Motorsports by Alex. We're aiming to give you a, concise but thorough picture.
Exactly. So your mission, listening in, is to really grasp where Aston Martin is, what Alonso's thinking tells us, and, well, the big challenges they face. Let's jump right in.
Okay, let's start with Alonso himself. It's quite something. Here's a guy who may be setting aside the 2023 podiums for a second.
Yeah, those were outliers, maybe.
Well, the point is, he spent so long without a truly top car. But his passion, his effort, according to the analysis, it's still sky high, undiminished.
It's remarkable, isn't it? The commentary mentions after the Saudi race in 2025, his exhaustion, just total commitment, even when points seemed, well, almost impossible.
Right, and you compare that, maybe unfairly, maybe not, to some other older drivers. The source suggests the visible motivation just isn't the same sometimes.
After 22 seasons, that hunger is still there.
And it comes through loud and clear. That radio message after Saudi, I will never do a race like this again in 25 years. Think about that.
Wow. Especially fighting near the points in a car that was, let's be honest, off the pace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You feel that sense of almost injustice. Like putting that much effort in should count for more,
Yeah, absolutely. And connecting to that, the commentary notes a change in him. We're not hearing those big frustrated moments anymore.
The GP2 engine stuff feels like ancient history now.
Right. And the analysis suggests it's not just about getting older. It's tied to him knowing his time at the very top is limited. And interestingly, his commitment to Aston Martin's future.
That's a key point from the commentary. He apparently wants to stay involved after driving, in a non-driving role.
To help them become champions. That's the goal mentioned.
Precisely. So that long-term view is probably shaping how he acts now. Avoiding negativity, trying to keep everyone motivated, the engineers, mechanics.
Like, he's deliberately being the positive example. The commentary even contrasts him with Norris and Hamilton in the context of that specific Saudi race.
Yeah, and there's that analogy. It's quite stark. Alonso being like a Champions League player stuck in a, second regional league team.
Oof. That really highlights the gap between his talent and the car's current level.
Which brings us inevitably to the car itself. And, well, the outlook presented in the commentary is not great for 2025.
Pretty pessimistic, yeah. The idea being that what we saw in the first few races is probably what we're getting all year.
Yeah, not much talk of major upgrades turning things around. There's this feeling that the team has sort of lost its way.
Like losing your compass in Canteen, the commentary said. Lost without a map. And it mentions this pattern, right? Saying they understand the problems.
The last year and a half, maybe even going back into 2023. But the actual on-track improvements haven't consistently followed.
So let's re-examine that 2023 season then. The commentary argues their early success wasn't just them being brilliant.
No, it was heavily influenced by the fact that Mercedes, McLaren, and Ferrari all started that year. Well, struggling. Significantly.
I remember McLaren's preseason woes needing that big rebuild.
And Mercedes had their, the Zero Pod or Medusa car issues they were grappling with. Ferrari had tire problems.
So those teams were temporarily off their game?
Exactly. And the expectation back then was that they'd figure it out and catch up, which, they did.
And Aston Martin. The commentary suggests their development program just stalled after that initial burst.
Which leads to this really critical issue. The wind tunnel. Apparently the numbers they're seeing in their new tunnel aren't matching up with what happens on track.
The classic correlation problem.
Yeah, it's a known headache in F1, but it's especially worrying for Aston Martin now, because if your tunnel is misleading you.
It affects everything, especially thinking about the 2026 car, the new regulations.
And on top of that, the commentary raises flags about the 2026 Honda engine too. Will it be up there with Mercedes, maybe Ferrari? It's another layer of uncertainty.
So it sounds like the team is almost hesitant now, scared to bring big upgrades that might just fail again.
That's the vibe suggested. Like they're afraid of repeating past development failures. Look at Saudi minimal aero changes, still slowest on the straights.
And the current car is actually worse than last year's in some ways. I read they even used an old floor recently.
Yeah, the commentary mentioned using the previous year's floor in the last race. That really screams lack of progress, doesn't it?
It really does. It makes those internal meetings sound unproductive. The meeting of Shepard's Line was brutal.
Suggesting lots of talk, but maybe not enough concrete solutions. And the worry is if this development trend continues, things could get worse.
Meaning Alonso could be stuck fighting even further down the grid, consistently.
Which just makes his qualifying efforts seem even more heroic, trying to mask those fundamental car issues.
So going back to 2023 one last time, the commentary really frames it as a bit of an illusion, amplified by others' problems.
Basically, yeah. In a normal year, they probably would have been fifth best, which is where they ended up anyway.
Right. The expectation was always that the big guys would recover.
And Aston just couldn't keep evolving the car at the same rate. There were moments, sure, where Alonso pulled something amazing out of the bag.
That podium in the wet comes to mind.
Definitely. But those moments maybe hid the underlying car weaknesses a bit.
And these wind tunnel correlation issues, Andy Cowell acknowledged them. That's worrying.
Extremely worrying.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about fixing the current car. It throws huge doubt on the 2026 development path.
Even with someone like Adrian Newey involved on the aero side. If the basic tool, the tunnel, isn't reliable,
then you're potentially designing the 2026 car based on flawed data. It's a massive risk. You can't be confident you're going in the right direction.
the commentary stresses being honest about this, right? Not painting a rosy picture.
Yeah, it mentions resisting pressure to be overly optimistic, even recalling getting criticism for highlighting weaknesses during preseason testing before.
So the reality for the rest of 2025 looks tough. And 2026 is a huge question mark.
Absolutely. The absolute number one priority has to be figuring out that wind tunnel correlation. If they don't fix that, they risk making the same mistakes all over again for the new regulations.
Okay, so let's try and pull this together. We've really seen Alonso's incredible dedication shining through despite, well, the car's limitations.
Yeah, his performance is inspiring, really. But at the same time, the commentary paints a picture of Aston Martin facing some pretty deep-seated development challenges.
Yeah.
Issues impacting now and casting a shadow on the near future.
Which leads us to that final thought for you, the listener. We've talked about this balance, haven't we? The brilliance of one driver versus the overall team performance and development.
It's that classic F1 dynamic.
So what does Alonso's situation right now tell us about how crucial both of those elements are? Individual talent and the team's ability to deliver a competitive package. Something to definitely chew on.